Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I've ummed and ahed about making this video because it's already like over halfway through January. I was like, should I even make this video? But I was like, what's the point of making a video about your goals and intentions if you're not gonna kind of review them? Like, what's the point of doing it in the first place? So here we are. Also, side note, my hair is really getting on my nerves. I'm so agitated by it. I think it's got too long now, and I'm just like, it's too long. It's getting on my nerves. I feel like I'm being suffocated by it. I'm like on the verge of cutting all my hair off because of it's getting on my nerves so much. So that means I really need to get a cut soon. So I kind of look back through my goals and intentions video and also the 24 books I want to read in 2024. I'm going to kind of put them all together and go through and see if I achieved them or how much that I achieved. I'll go for the 24 in 2024 first. And of these, I only read 8, which I feel like is kind of bad. I thought it was more than that, but apparently not. These are all the books that I wanted to read in 2024, and you can see which ones I've kind of crossed out as having read. The ones that I did read were Legends and Lattes, which I loved. I finally read The Final Empire. It kind of went into 2025, but I read it, so I feel like I can cross that one off too. No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall, which was like a highly anticipated release that I really enjoyed. Also, Funny Story by Emily Henry, which I loved. And then also Interesting Facts About Space by Emily Austen. Again, another anticipated read from basically an auto-buy author for me. Scroll past all the classics and non-fictions I didn't read. Emily's Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, which was a 5-star. I loved this, just as I thought I would. I thought I would love it, and I did. And then we also read Frankenstein by Junji Ito, which is a horror manga. And then also Eleanor Elephant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman, which is kind of just a contemporary kind of general fiction book, which I also gave 5 stars. So, I mean, of the ones I read, so they were books I really did enjoy. So I was right in putting them in here and reading them. So, I mean, I've succeeded in that sense. I gave myself books that I really did enjoy. And then some books that I maybe didn't get around to reading. I avoided putting a lot of these on my 2025 because I feel like it's just boring and repetitive. And there's obviously a reason I didn't pick them up, but I probably will pick them up at some point. So the ones that I didn't get around to were Ruth Ozeki's The Book of Form and Emptiness, which is quite big, and I feel like it's quite a dense, like, literary fiction, alongside The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which again, quite dense literary fiction. Beach Read by Emily Henry. I just had a reading slump over summer, and that feels like a summery book. I don't really want to read it not in summer. Half a Soul, I just was never in the mood for it, and I feel like it's one of those ones that I'm like, I want to read, but I'm also kind of scared that I'm not going to like. I'm not a massive fairy tale fan, and I've never really read anything Regency era or really watched anything Regency era. Like, I don't watch Bridgerton, and I'm scared that I won't like it, so I think I've been putting that one off for that reason. Name of the Wind is just, I just never really got to it. I started reading The Final Empire instead as like my big kind of Final Fantasy as a game, my big fantasy read for the year. And then also Kaikai, which I don't know why, I've got it on my Kindle. I just never wanted to pick it up for some reason, but I still really want to read it. And then we have the classics and the non-fictions I read none of. So we have The Wild Sargasso Sea, we have Emma by Jane Austen, which I did start, I just didn't finish it. We have Wuthering Heights and Far From the Maddening Crowd, which I just never really got round to. I do have The Wild Sargasso Sea on my 2025 list though, because I do want to read that one. It's so tiny I can read it. And then we have, for the non-fictions, we have Atomic Habits, Indistractable, Power of Now, Mountain Is You, The One Thing, and Designing Your Life, which I read none of. I started Atomic Habits, but like I said in my 2025 video, it's one of those books that I'm just going to try and force my way through, because I keep putting them off because I'm like, no, I'm not in the right mindset to read things about improving my life, which, I mean, is just a stupid reason. Like, I can reread them as well. Like, I don't need to be in the right mindset, I just need to read them. But I mean, I still really want to read Atomic Habits and The Mountain Is You. And then the other ones I kind of just have, I think I have them. I have 2 of them physically, and the other ones are on my Kindle. So I just need to get around to them at some point. Yes, we can see a theme of classics and non-fictions kind of down the bottom, and then like a lot of these non-fictions are self-help books as well. So, you know, I mean, I don't hate self-help books, but I don't really gravitate towards them. That's 8 out of 24 that I read, and that's 33%, which, I mean, when you put it like that, I feel like that's perfectly fine, because I do think that when I make these, they are kind of books that I'm on my radar, and what I want to read throughout the year does change. Like, I can't predict what I want to read at the start of the year. I feel like my 2025 one is a bit of a better list this year, because these books I've put on it are kind of books I own and I do really want to get to. So I'm putting them there as a kind of momentum to get through the books that I do own or have available to me. On to my kind of intentions. So I watched back my video that I did last year, and the first thing that came up was reading with more intention. So not getting kind of like sidetracked by what's popular at the moment or what other people are reading and being like, oh, that sounds good, I'm going to put that on my TBR straight away. And kind of being like, okay, I'll read that at some point. I think I did a little bit better this year with that. I think I read things that I wanted to read more, but I also think I got sidetracked by my library a little bit. So like when the library holds come in, I use the bead to read my book from my library. When the library holds come in, I'm like, oh, I'll drop everything else and kind of read that book straight away. And I do put books on hold when I hear other people talk about them, or I've kind of heard things about them and I'm like, that sounds good, I'll put it on hold. But then when the hold comes in, I'm like, oh, I need to read this straight away. And I find it hard to read too many books at once. I can't read the book from the library and a physical book at the same time. I just like one of them will fall behind. And I feel like when I'm reading the library book, I have to really focus on that one because of it will like the hold will end in 2 weeks. So I have to read it within that 2 weeks. I can't kind of read it as slow as maybe I would want to if I'm reading multiple books at a time. I just end up prioritizing those ones over all of my physical books, which I'm trying to avoid this year. I think I'm only putting on hold the books that are new releases that I really want, or books that I've had on my TBR for a long time and I kind of really want to get to. And that's what I've kind of done now. All my holds are kind of books that I want to read this year that I have on my 2025 TBR. Like I'm really serious about my 2025 TBR. I'm like, I'm going to do it this year. I'm going to do it this year. I feel like looking back at this list that I made last year kind of like it's really pushed me forward to be like, no, I'm going to read all these 25 books that I've set out to read. And also this year I've seen a challenge. It's like a women in translation challenge where books are translated from another language into English, and I've put 25 of those on my I don't think I'm going to read 25 because that's like half the books I read in a year. And I don't have that many. I do want to read the books I already have. So I've put a bunch of them on. I want to kind of read like 10 of them maybe. So it's like less than one a month. So that's completely doable. I'm going to do that. I've kind of put them all in a spreadsheet so that I can plan them out and read them as well. Okay, and then the next thing that come up was big book fear and getting over my big book fear. And I think looking back at the 2024 list, I can see that I put off things like The Book and Form of Emptiness and The Secret History because they are kind of big. They're not that chunky. Like, they're kind of like middle range, I'd say. But I did read Battle Royale, which is over 600 pages, and also The Fire Mill Empire, which is also over 600 pages. And those are two massive books. Like, those are the books that I've been putting off because I was scared to read them. But I wouldn't say I've conquered completely my big book fear, but I'm getting there. You know, I'm on my way. Gone over the first hurdle, and I've been doing it, you know? I feel like it's not gone, but, you know, I'm learning to live with it. I'm learning to not let it affect me. We're making progress on it, I'd say. So I think I've actually succeeded at this one. I think I've succeeded. It's my words of wisdom from my last video where, you know, I really manifested it. And then my next goal was to read 52 books, and I read 51. But like, I mean, I did have a massive reading slump, so I feel like that's fine. I was reading until, you know, bang on 12 at New Year's Day to try and get my goal, but I didn't. So and that's fine. We can move on from that. And then the next two are reading non-fiction and classics, which I picked up none. I picked up one classic and I didn't even finish it. And no non-fictions, I don't think I read a single non-fiction. So I might try and read some different non-fictions, like maybe like biographies. I've got a Jane Austen biography that I really want to read. And then maybe I'll read some different ones. I know that there was the Women's Prize for non-fiction, and there's a couple of books on there that I thought were really interesting, so I might go back, try and pick some of those up. I know Doppelganger by Naomi Klein, I think it is. That sounds really interesting. I really want to read that one, so I might try and pick that up at some point. But yeah, maybe I just need to diversify the non-fiction that I do want to read and read things that maybe are a bit more interesting to me. If anyone has any recommendations, please leave them below of non-fictions you love. I don't really read a lot of like memoirs. I feel like I prefer more kind of like sociological kind of like explorations of things, or like gender and race and anything like that. Just very social justice-y issues. I love reading about things like that. And my next one was to take more notes while I'm reading. And I did this until about May-ish. I think I was doing it quite consistently, leaving notes about every book I read. And then I remember being at the gym and listening to an audiobook. I remember being on the treadmill, listening to an audiobook. And I remember writing my notes down, being like, yeah, I'm doing so good at this goal. And then for some reason, I just stopped completely. I think it was when I had my reading slump that I just kind of stopped and just didn't get back into it. But I'm going to try and low-key do it a little bit. I've got like my reading journal now where I kind of look forward to writing down all my thoughts. So I think that compels me to actually make notes as I'm reading so that I have things to write and have a proper review to write and like can look back at my thoughts for that review, and it kind of makes a lot more sense and there's a lot more depth to it. So, I mean, I failed that, but I think I can get better at it going forward. Then the next one wasn't really a bookish goal. It was using Letterboxd. I logged every single film that I watched last year. That was really fun. It's really nice to look back at all of the films I've watched, and it keeps like a diary so you can see every month and then every film you've watched within those months. It's very satisfying to look at. I really love the like organization of it, just the collection. It makes me want to go and watch more films so that I can log it in Letterboxd. The reviews on Letterboxd are so funny. Like, every time I watch a film, I'm like, oh my god, once I finish the film I can read the Letterboxd reviews. So that's my main real drive to watch films now, is to read the Letterboxd reviews, because they're just such funny little one-liner sentences and they just all make sense. So yes, that one's a success. I did that completely and it's really fun to look back on and I love it. But don't worry, this isn't going to become a film channel because I don't know anything about film, and to be honest, I mostly watch horror films, so it would just be horror films. Alright, so I guess that is all of the kind of goals and intentions I had. This year I haven't done too many. I kind of wanted to be a bit more low-key and just kind of read the books I own. It's not bad that I didn't finish all my goals, but now I can look forward, figure out ways to work on those goals better. I am a bit miffed that I only read 51 instead of 52 books though. Like, I was so close. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know how you did, if you set any reading goals and if you reached them, and kind of what you're doing this year. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next one. Bye!